Hello, you beautiful legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast. This is episode 514, and that means that it's 514 days streak in blogging and podcasting. So there was no day off in between. Every single day I produced a blog post and a podcast episode. Initially it was only audio, but then it switched to video that you're probably watching that right now, unless you are on Spotify audio or podcast. Yeah, Apple Podcasts audio or similar platform that it is fed into. But all of you that come here from YouTube or Spotify video, obviously you see my beautiful face, my bald big head. And those of you that are new to the podcast, short explanation: every single day I write and I record a journal. So you might expect that my life is not probably a life of Elon Musk or somebody else, like, I don't know, maybe some actor like Leonardo DiCaprio or somebody else, that it's probably more exciting and every single day something is happening. Either they do some projects or businesses or new movies or whatever. I'm just a regular guy, and most of us are, I guess. We are unique. Each of our lives are beautiful in their own way, but we are people that have exciting days and the less exciting days, sometimes even a bad days. So as you can imagine, this blog and podcast sometimes might be on the dual side. So I try to inject some form of polemization, polemic, I think so. So discussion around different topics from areas that I like to read about, or I heard about and dug into, or simply that something happened and I want to have a rant. And today is one of those days, because it's 14th of February. In most countries, I believe, where it touches either from religious perspective, from tradition perspective, or from commercial perspective, I believe that majority of people in some way celebrate the St. Valentine's Day. And obviously, I'm not saying we shouldn't celebrate, or we should actually celebrate certain things, but St. Valentine's became not only a cliche, in my opinion, but also a very difficult day to celebrate. Mainly because of the commercial side of it, and also the sheepish or a little bit lemming-like approach of people to that day. So it's supposed to be day of the lovers, or those seeking love, or those celebrating love if they have someone. And there are obviously people that celebrate it in a way, their unique way, and do it as a form of respect to other person and vice versa. So it's a celebration of two people where each side tries to celebrate it in their own way, or gift that other person in their own way with that special moment on the 14th of February. But I wanted to talk about the big part of people celebrating it just for the sake of celebration, because the date pops in the calendar, and because 2 weeks before, or a month before, or a week before, shops are packed with cheap stuff, and, well, maybe not so cheap in most cases, plastic wrapped flowers that not necessarily look beautiful, but hey, we need to buy flowers, we need to buy chocolates, we need to buy something else and give it to our girlfriend, wife, spouse, whatever, because others are doing it, and we don't want to be odd ones out, or we don't want to piss off the other half. And this is where I have a problem with St. Valentine's Day. Not only that, but there are facts like St. Valentine wasn't one person. We try to celebrate it as a patron of lovers, but there's actually at least 3 St. Valentines in history that are being referred to in connection with that day. There is no single obvious one that you can connect. Some people try to kind of associate it with one specific guy that was tortured and killed, but there were other ones that were also referred multiple times, and in some areas they are the ones that are referred to. And it seems, because I dug into it a little bit more, there is more than 3 St. Valentines that are a bit more doubtful, but also referred to across the history, and that so-called tradition reaches as far as 8th century, I believe. So you can imagine it's a very old tradition. It didn't start necessarily with the flowers, chocolates, and the love thing, because St. Valentine seemed to be, as a name, associated with a couple of other things as a patron. So it's not only a patron of lovers. So it's quite confusing, not only in a way that there is multiple St. Valentines, and it wasn't necessarily referenced to celebrating love by just running around shopping like headless chickens and buying stuff just to throw it out or eat it or forget about it the next day. And my slight rant about it is because it's no longer a celebration of love. It's no longer a celebration of respect towards the other half, I think. We were in the shopping center yesterday waiting for my wife's appointment at the opticians, and we observed the same way. People seem to not even think about this day if it makes sense. They just go to the shop, buy flowers, and it's probably once or twice a year, just because there's a date in the calendar. And I'm sure in many cases like that, it's not repeated along the year. Obviously there are like birthday celebration and maybe something else, but other than that, we human beings are not the best in celebrating life, love, and respect every day. We tend to become respectful when there is some enforcement in the calendar or enforcement in tradition or something like that. And that's what is really painful for me. So I try to celebrate it in my own way. I am the one to blame as well, because I'm on the other side of spectrum. I'm not the best person to celebrate anything. And I think my wife suffers from sometimes missing on certain celebrations. I'm trying to work on myself in this new life that I call the second life that I started after 40, to be more proactive and plan for these things, and not necessarily do it on the days that governments or commercial bodies try to enforce through the calendar, but try to do it more often in the days that are actually not meant to be celebratory, or I think it's a word, or are not meant or designated to do these things. So yeah, that's my aim. I was always a bit contrarian and maybe I'm not proud of it, but I like being a little bit against the current, because only this way we can preserve some originality and uniqueness that each and every one of us has, but we tend to push it away to the background and forget that we are all unique and original, and instead of being ourselves, we submit to that template of being according to certain standards, according to expectations of others. And that's what makes me slightly sick when I see it. And it was painful to watch many men that I saw walking with flowers. Their faces weren't showing anything exciting. There were a couple of girls, and mostly young women, that were walking with some flowers or cards. So I was suspecting that they were either gifting that to their girlfriends or boyfriends. So there is that modern approach that both sides are actually participating. And these days I see that the older generations are still treating that more of a like another day to celebrate women instead of love. It's St. Valentine's Day. It's Day of Lovers. There is S in the end of it, so it's plural. So lovers should celebrate it, not one lover to other and without reciprocation or reciprocity the other way around. It's a two-way celebration, or two-way holiday, whatever you call it. We have days to celebrate women, like Women's Day on 8th of March, at least in, I would say, global standards. Or we have Mother's Day, or we have things like that. But Lover's Day is plural for a reason. And I think we lost it. And I'm not saying that those men that I saw were maybe mildly excited or sad about that they had to rush something or go to the shopping, find the flower shop, and they were walking with some box of chocolates to make sure that they don't piss off their wives. I'm not saying that they might have actually wanted to make it nice for them, but I don't like the fact that we are forced to do it one day in a year, and it's far from celebration. I don't think it's a celebration. Celebration should be triggered by ourselves. We should be deciding when we celebrate. And love is not something that you can celebrate one day in a year. Love is something that you celebrate every single bloody day. And I'd like to not only implement it myself, but also see it in the world to be more prevalent, that people celebrate each other regardless of gender, regardless of age, and regardless of day. That they feel more than just pressure from a community, neighbors, family, or calendar, or whatever is currently being promoted at the commercial outlets, but just be able to leave all that commercial side, leave that peer pressure away and far behind, and start living their own life, presenting themselves as they are, and being able to express respect and celebration in their own way at the times they like, and when nobody is upset that they didn't do it on a particular day, but is actually appreciative that they did it at all. 15 minutes in. Thank you very much for tuning in. That was a long one. I hope you have a great rest of the day, afternoon, or evening. Stay tuned and see you tomorrow.